You're watching Rurouni K95's anime review on Crimson Wolf. Hi Ruronis, this is your pal Rurouni K95 here, and today's anime review we get to cover once again another 90s forgotten anime OVA that hasn't gotten an anime review until now, particularly for today's what we have for what's in store for today's anime review is Crimson Wolf. Crimson Wolf is basically an anime written and illustrated by Shoichi Masuo. Yeah, this anime was released on July 7th, 1993, because it runs about 60 minutes, particularly. And yes, Crimson Wolf is basically your typical anime from the 90s, particularly, as well. Yeah. Because, come to think of it, this is particularly, I guess you have to call like forgotten anime OVAs from the 90s, particularly. I mean, Wikipedia is useless as usual for a particular forgotten 90s anime OVA gem like Crimson Wolf, but at least Anime News Network and Anime Encyclopedia makes a lot more sense, particularly for the particular anime like Crimson Wolf, particularly. So let's review Crimson Wolf. Let's begin here, guys. A scientific expedition finds the hidden tomb of Genghis Khan in Mongolia. Supernatural apparitions destroy the expedition and proclaim a curse that in 1,000 days, a great natural disaster will devastate the whole world unless three young people bearing a wolf-shaped birthmark or a scar are found and killed. By this time, Kay, a martial arts student in Beijing, China, is identified as the attempt, but his old teacher is murdered. Kay tracks the killers for revenge after his old teacher has been dead. But you guessed it, particularly about having revenge in a 90s anime OVA that is forgotten, like particular one of the main sessions about this particular 90s anime OVA like Crimson Wolf, particularly, which is particularly how I expect for this particular anime as well. But that is the question though, and is shocked to learn that he has been targeted by every government espionage agency in the world. Refusing to believe the curse, Kei teams up with the other Crimson Wolves, nubile Japanese love interest, distressed damsel, Mizuho Washio, and the handsome, rakish advisory of the team, Ryugen, a Chinese tirade boss as well. Yeah. Genghis Khan is just one of the three great kings, which is the Oriental undead, who will become supreme masters of the world because they're basically warlords in Crimson Wolf anime, particularly as well. You guessed it. What is it with warlords and wolf like Chinese lion type statues in Crimson Wolf anime OVA, particularly? 1,000 days after the opening of the tomb, the other two being the Queen Emperor, China's unifier and the ward of the famous Terracotta Army, and the communist leader Mao Zedong in the scraps of a clumsy plotting typical of such Manti adventures as well. Above all this, of how the question is revealed, particularly about this, particularly what you see in Crimson Wolf, particularly. By this time, the Crimson Wolves only become aware of the threat they pose when the assassins are sent to stop them. If the great kings left in ignorance, the 1,000 days would have passed without the opposition. When the Crimson Wolves are told they have great powers, not surprisingly, since Kay has eyes poked out in prison and is miraculously healed by the time he is rescued. Above all this, eventually the Great Kings take over the Chinese government's supercomputer, Goku, not to be confused from Dragon Ball Z, from what I know. But this is a different one in Crimson Wolf, particularly. But that's not what I meant in particular, is how I expect as well. In a finale, that implies the Crimson Wolves have saved China from its cruel first emperor, its Mongol conqueror, the architect of the Great Leap Forward, and the future spread of communism, particularly entirely bad yellow pearl hokum, unlikely to be as popular in the People's Republic as to the extent of to other different anime titles, especially the most popular ones like Ranma Half. I guess particularly Ranma Half is particularly the more popular anime as well, but that is in particular for this particular anime. I mean, come to think of it, Wikipedia is useless as usual for Crimson Wolf because there's not that much information about Crimson Wolf on Wikipedia, because this is something that Wikipedia doesn't even actually know about Crimson Wolf. And this is your typical anime OVA that is forgotten in the 90s, particularly, because this is the first time I wanted to do like an anime review on Crimson Wolf. And yes, this did got an English dub by Streamline Pictures on it when it was first released on VHS, and then it was released again on DVD as well. I mean, can you imagine if Discotek Media would have gotten a hold for Crimson Wolf to get a Blu-ray release? That'll be awesome, and it means it'll have a better quality and better transfer, including the original Japanese language track and the English language dub track from Streamline Pictures, kind of like they did with Fist of the North Star. Ironically, Fist of the North Star is the more popular anime from the 80s. But anyways, for Crimson Wolf, however, the plot particularly is an architectural expedition finds the mummified bodies of Genghis Khan and his army somewhere in Mongolia, which is probably above China. Unaware that the location is cursed, the explorers wake up that the former ruler of the Mongolian Empire, he warns the intruders that a large calamity will befall the world in 1,000 days. The only ones who can prevent this from happening are three persons who bear wolf-shaped arrow scars. They must join forces and kill the three emperors so that the soul of Genghis Khan can sleep once again sleep for 1,000 years. And yeah, what is it with hearing what is up with this forgotten anime OVAs that hasn't gotten a Blu-ray release as it was intended as well? Yeah, come to think of it, Crimson Wolf is your typical anime that is particularly hasn't gotten a Blu-ray release by Discotek Media yet. And yes, this is what this forgotten anime gem from the 90s particularly, when it comes to primary example of forgotten anime OVA from the 90s, especially the ones that have been forgotten that nobody hasn't mentioned about, particularly for a forgotten anime OVA gem like Crimson Wolf particularly. And yet, people always know that Crimson Wolf is your typical anime OVA that is released only on VHS and DVD as well. And yet, this is something that I don't think Bennett the Sage will never review Crimson Wolf, because this all makes perfect sense for the particular 90s anime OVA gem like Crimson Wolf, because this particularly has to the extent to Fist of the Blue Sky, which is another, of course, popular one. But anyways, so for the thing about Crimson Wolf, it's known in Japanese translated as Hanran as well, particularly, which is the original Japanese name for Crimson Wolf particularly. And yes, Wikipedia is useless as usual, because there's not that much information what Wikipedia doesn't even know about for a particular forgotten anime OVA gem like Crimson Wolf particularly as well. Yeah, come to think of it, Crimson Wolf did have some much information you find on Anime News Network as well. That all makes perfect sense as well. And yes, this anime did have an English dub from Streamline Pictures, which includes Barbara Goodson, Bob Bergen, Dan Warren, and Kirk Thornton, and Michael McConaughey. Oh, and also Richard Cancino, who is known for the Rurouni Kenshin series as well. and a trivia to that, Kirk Thornton, Richard Cancino, and Michael McConaughey are the only three actors that were from the Rurouni Kenshin anime series that are known in this anime OVA like Crimson Wolf, because any of you fans of Rurouni Kenshin, because someone who remembers the 90s anime OVA, which has some of the actors from Rurouni Kenshin, such as Michael McConaughey, Kirk Thornton, and Richard Cancino, which are the only three actors that are from the Rurouni Kenshin anime series that appeared in Crimson Wolf, because this is something that the fans of Rurouni Kenshin hasn't known, that Richard Cancino, Michael McConaughey, and Kirk Thornton that are from the second season of Rurouni Kenshin are in this anime OVA like Crimson Wolf particularly. Yeah, because this is where your typical 90s forgotten anime gem from the 90s as well. Mind you, this is considered to be the forgotten anime gem from the 90s as well. Because, come to think of it, this is something if Discotek Media would have gotten a Blu-ray release if it's in standard definition as well. Unlike most other anime titles that are released part of Discotek Media in general, particularly for this OVA like Crimson Wolf particularly as well. Yeah. So, the thing about that, and yes, this did feature the English dub for the anime Crimson Wolf was directed by Streamline Pictures director Carl Macek, particularly. This is something what Carl Macek has a lot to do for the English dub from Streamline Pictures for this forgotten 90s anime gem like Crimson Wolf, unlike most other anime titles in general. All that were part of the English dubs from Streamline Pictures as well as most of them, which is particularly have the credibility for what Streamline Pictures have a lot to do when it comes to having an English dub for a particular forgotten 90s anime gem like Crimson Wolf particularly. Yep. But that is the question though. Yeah. Yeah, because the English dub, the Streamline Pictures English dub for Crimson Wolf particularly the English dub was directed by Streamline Pictures and Carl Macek, who is known for his work for the English dub on anime from Streamline Pictures, such as Akira, 3x3 Eyes, 8-Man After, Barefoot Gen, Captain Harlock, and the Queen of 1,000 Years, Kashan Robot Hunter, Kashern OVA, Doom Megaopolis, Dirty Pair, Project Eden, Dirty Pair, Affair of Onolandia, Crying Freeman, as well as he worked on as the English dub for the anime Lily Cat, Lupin the Third, The Mystery of Mamo, and the Lupin the Third, The Castle of Cagliostro, and as well as the episodes from the Lupin the Third Red Jacket series as well. And also, Carl Macek was a creative consultant on the first season of Sailor Moon, forgot to mention, as he was a director for the English dub of the anime Robotech 2, The Sentinels, as well as Robotech The Untold Story, which is known as Robotech the Movie, and he also worked on the Robotech series, as well as Neo Tokyo, as many of his work in general, which he has a lot to do with. Oh, and he also does the voice as Fox in the Fist of the North Star anime movie, and he does the voice for the opening radio voice in Kiki's Delivery Service, forgot to mention. Because, come to think of it, Crimson Wolf hasn't gotten many other reviews, which opens to mediocrity if it would have gotten almost good reviews or almost mediocre reviews. If you haven't seen Crimson Wolf, I highly recommend you give Crimson Wolf a watch, because this is a forgotten 90s anime OVA as well. So that's going to be it for my anime review on Crimson Wolf. Thank you for watching, but before we go, here's my thoughts. When I first watched Crimson Wolf, I really admired this 90s forgotten anime gem, because I have been watching primary of forgotten anime OVAs from the 80s and 90s. Crimson Wolf is one of them. And yes, this is something Discotek Media needs to get a Blu-ray release in better quality and better transfer as well for a Blu-ray release like Crimson Wolf. If you haven't seen Crimson Wolf, give it a watch. Hope to subscribe for content. My anime plan link in the description below. You can share this video on your Twitter, Facebook if you have Twitter, Facebook account, and all social media. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up by clicking on the like button on this video. Feel free to leave in the comments in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, RuRoniK95. Feel free to join the channel, especially if you're new to my channel. Hit the notifications bell button. Keep it otaku for this anime review. We got another anime review next. Stay tuned for my next anime review. I got another 6-episode anime for tomorrow's anime review on Looking Up at the Half Moon. Stay tuned for my next anime review on Looking Up at the Half Moon, because you won't want to miss another anime review.